2 of me exploring all of my zodiac elements and sharing them with you guys. So let's just dive right back into it. I believe I left off at discussing my Capricorn rising. The next detail that the website I'm reading from describes is when your ascendant is Capricorn, the mastery of material resources is a prime concern. You may have a tendency to be stern, strict, and serious, especially with yourself. You can be far harder on yourself than you are on anyone else. And that is particularly true because every little thing that I have, because I have obtained with such high effort and over the span of a long time, I really value it and need to protect it more because I don't have a mindset of, oh, everything that I have is replaceable. Like, yes, technically it is, but in my particular case, it will be with difficulties and delays, and that's not something that I can just afford casually like that. And on top of that, on the note of being your own worst self-critic, that is absolutely true about me, so much so that every time I am evaluated for my performance anywhere I go, I get told you tend to be really hard on yourself. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Others may see you as a harsh taskmaster or a capable leader, and you are likely to be well respected owing to your capacity for hard work, pragmatism, and prolonged focus. Prolonged focus is a very key word because on my part one, I remember going off about how I feel like a lot of the issues I encounter in present time is that people are just all over the place. It's like attention spans are really limited, focus is really limited, and I can say without a doubt that that is something I don't suffer from. You need to find ways to make practical and efficient use of the resources that are available to you and ultimately master your world. To do this, you need to cautiously plan and structure your approach in order to meet the voice of responsibility inside you, urging you on toward success and achievement. Treating yourself as you would a member of your team would help. Would you punish and criticize others as harshly as you do yourself? Patience and endurance. Achievements may be slow to come by, but are usually certain owing to your methodical approach. Absolutely. I like to describe myself as a methodical person. The sign and house position of the sun in your chart will give you many clues as to how this happens for you. Saturn, your ruler, is also known as the father of time, teaching valuable lessons through patience, commitment, and endurance. Patience, I'm sure I display it. Commitment, I'm sure I have proven it with the things that I hold on to. For example, my job and the fact that I have run this channel for so many years now, yada yada. Endurance, for sure, because your girl does not get tired. Even if I just did a 3-hour workout, I could still keep going for more. And the job, I technically could, if only it didn't depress me so much. Like, there's much more that I would rather do with my day than being stuck in a building for 8 hours. Like, that's it. That's my max. I don't need any more. Hardship and frustration teach you to refine your ambitions whilst developing long-term staying power. Limits, laws, and structures must be recognized and obeyed. There is a need to make something of yourself, and this will become a key driving force. That doesn't necessarily particularly extremely resonate with me because I really don't feel like I have to really make something of myself with, say, having a huge social impact. Like, I'm perfectly content with at least who I have become as a person, and I'm happy that I allow myself to evolve. But when it comes to, say, I want to be a great doctor or anything like that, anything of like value when it comes to a position in society, I can't say that really resonates with me. Let's see. There is a need to make something of yourself, and this will become a key driving force. Submitting to the need for order, structure, and discipline will lead you to long-term satisfaction and contentment. I can certainly say that I am an individual who likes to manifest in a very disciplined way. There are times in which I may take a little bit of a lax approach, and you may see that physically manifest in me, like There are some times when I just don't care about maintaining a certain appearance or a certain weight or anything like that. And I know that I'm getting careless, but I know that I have a plan on how to get back on the grind. And usually when I go lax like that, it's because something else is taking its place. And I wish to indulge in a way that doesn't make me feel guilty about having such an indulgence. And that's something that I really had to convince myself to do, because my discipline and order and all that was really keeping me deprived of trying those things. Sometimes the inner expectation that life must be hard for you makes things far more difficult than need be. You meet what you expect in the world, and with Capricorn rising, you may secretly expect hardship and limitation to greet you at every turn. These beliefs can lead to difficulty in realizing your goals. The belief that life must be hard on you, for you, often sets things up so that they are. Learning to appreciate your need for hard work and discipline without seeing yourself as somehow under the thumb of cruel fate helps. Also, putting your ambitions into perspective is a good move. Pleasures of life. There is more to life than hard work and discipline. That is something that in more recent times, as recent as a year ago, I began to practice. And I can't really tell you how it happened, what led to it, but I think it was my fear of how much time goes by and I really don't get to really do anything outside of my routine. Like the routine that I have had is pretty much a very similar routine to what I have had for the past 10 years. And that doesn't feel fun because I'm in a really stuck position. And a lot of it is self inflicted because of my lack of interest in, say, moving up in a company and therefore making more money, and with more money having more resources to do more things. I just can't explain it. It's not a motivator for me. But what I do like is establishing a routine for me that just works, and that's honestly what I've had. And I just wish to preserve that, but with a degree of liberty within it. And what I mean by that is, because I have lived a life deprived of so many experiences, then I wish to be able to kind of like sit back and allow for some things to just happen. But there's that side of me that's like, I can't make that happen, because since I don't have to drive to sacrifice myself in the way that would ensure I can have the resources to have that, it's not gonna happen. Like, I don't value it or crave it enough to be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna let my entire life change in the name of being able to do a little extra. I'm going to have less time for general things in my day, but at least I'll have more resources. So all I have to do is like figure out when to take the time off and make it happen. I can't operate like that. It's like, if I have the impulse to do something, I do it, period. Whether I have the resources or not, if it's meant for me, the resources will appear without me having to put much effort. That's really how it's always worked out for me, and I'm perfectly content with that. I just cannot imagine pressuring myself into rushing toward a goal just so that I can say that I have gotten to do more. And you guys know that there's just not a whole lot that really interests me out there. I'm not someone who needs experience and pay for experience. It's experiences come and go for me. Whichever ones I get to have, it's like I indulge in them and embrace them for as long as they last. And then once that season is over, it's over, let it go. It's not like, oh my God, I went traveling and I loved it so much, I have to continuously do this, do this, do this. Nothing like that. Or like, say, if I drive a different car that I find cool, it's like, oh my God, I got to drive this car. Now I want to own it, or I want to try another one and another one and another one. Like, I don't care. That can be the very last time that I try a different vehicle, and I'll be perfectly happy. So yeah, I can't say that I really resonate with having ambition on the perspective of a Capricorn. But I do understand the part of hard work, because I like feeling like I'm giving it my all. I guess it's that passion side of me that my Leo sun may bring. Publicly, you may come across as reserved. That is absolutely true. Always aware of status and protocol, you will avoid doing anything that might adversely affect your reputation. Kind of not, because the truth is the truth. If there's something that needs to be changed or happen, and I have to create some kind of mini rebellion to get it done, I will get it done, and I don't care who cries, who whines, who complains. It happens, period. So the element of reputation, the only time I care is if there's someone actively trying to bring down my image when it's absolutely undeserved, uncalled for, and it has ill intent. But even then, even the few times in my life that has happened, that person literally fell under their own weight, like collapsed under their own weight. So I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was remain consistent and keep operating with the distinction that I have, which is my honesty, integrity, all those character traits and values. Those speak, those do the job. You just have to believe in it and not contribute anything that may adversely truly affect your image. Like, say, if I were a person who's honest and hardworking and integral, but I have a major attitude problem, then I could create some doubt and questions and whatnot. But given that I'm so good at remaining the same, remaining consistent, and not need to all of a sudden I gotta alter my behavior because there's an infraction that I committed, and now the I'm on their radar and stuff like that. Like, no, 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 no. Like, just stay the same. Be your authentic, genuine self, and you don't have to worry about anything. Like, it's kind of like when you're driving and there's a cop. Why do all of you all of a sudden want to drive using your blinkers and obeying speed limits and everything? Because, like, there's a vigilante around. Like, none of that. Just do things right from the start and keep doing it, and nothing is gonna happen. So yeah, that's the best way I can describe that one. Now, there was something that I did do a long time ago when I discovered that my rising is in Capricorn. So I'll try to read a little bit more and then get into that. The gift of Capricorn rising, you are a work in progress and in the end highly likely to succeed, affirming that you are able to create what you need easily while taking time to enjoy life's pleasures will help overcome any self-imposed limitations. And the one Capricorn who I can think of absolutely lives by this. Through perseverance and faith in your own ability, you will eventually reach the summit of your desired achievements. If in doubt, just think about how far you have come. You are a born leader and strategist. So something that I did was I said Leo with a Capricorn rising. I looked that up, and the description of that was pretty interesting. It pretty much sums up what I described. So a Leo with a Capricorn ascendant comes into this life with a lot more karmic debt to pay. They are also extremely ambitious and able to be very successful as they work very hard and are naturally disciplined. I can't remember which one of these I read, but I'm going to click on, let's see, this one. Let's try this one just because I know that I read a really good one. These people are the folks in charge and the keepers of the keys. They have I can handle it and do what's expected, plus written all over their calm, cool, and collected faces and vouched for in their resumes. With Leo's pride and Capricorn's unyielding sense of responsibility, a good job well done is all but guaranteed. That is something that I get told a lot, that I have to learn to do my job and see it as it's good enough. But I go like, no, I want to do my very best every single time. It's guaranteed. This is not a burden. It's not, oh, today I'm going to have one good day and then the rest of my days I'm going to slack a little bit. Like, no, even if it makes me feel burned out maybe years from now, it doesn't matter. If I ever come to a point in which I feel like my job is a burden or something is just too hard for me to maintain, that is the day that I will retire. But consistency is not something that I struggle with. Let's see. Leo's competence and confidence are just what the doctor ordered for an ambitious Capricorn personality. If these people show up punctually, being respectful and orderly, they'll end up in charge of the entire block. They're absolutely masterful, but they might need to be more lighthearted. They're too sober about everything. They need to smile. I don't have problems smiling, I promise you. If they're Capricorn, the wise old goat will lighten up enough to their sunny disposition to let their sunny disposition shine through. They'll not only earn accolades for how well they've handled the project or account, they'll also inspire confidence in others, ensuring a quick climb up the ladder of success. If these Leos avoid being excessively demanding, they're superb management people. They're tremendous organizers, but no one starts at the top. So Leos with Capricorn rising need to be careful not to step on too many toes during their ambitious climb to the coveted corner office. There's a proclivity towards competition and jealousy here, and these Leos need to be careful not to react with bitter resentment when colleagues are rewarded for their achievements. That's never been me. I'm the kind of person who I like to celebrate the success of others, and sometimes I may be more excited about someone else's success than the idea of my own success. So I can say that that's not a problem that I have. Instead, they should be genuinely happy for them. Had I read a little longer, that would have come out. Leos love to be alone on the stage, but there's always a need for good help in successful business. The establishment of a good rapport and the cultivation of congeniality and the willingness to be a team player are essential. Remember, doing a damned good job isn't always enough to earn the promotion, especially when diplomacy has been thrown out the window. That is not the one that I read a while back, but it does sum up pretty well what I had in mind anyway. So moving on from my ascending, Capricorn rising, I have a moon in Gemini. And that was exciting for me to discover because it's not that I have mood swings or mood problems, but especially around the day when that feminine cycle is doing its thing, I'm like, I can go from being this kind of a person to just a complete, like, loathing person to then being like sweet little girl to then being this like type of thing. So like, what's with that? But it can also happen outside of the cycle. So I kept feeling like I had two personas going on at the same time, but not necessarily in a fake way. Like, you know how sometimes you meet somebody and it's like, okay, this is the face that they're going to show you. They have a face they're going to show their family, and there's a face that they're going to show like the general public. Nothing like that. It's like at the center, at the very core, you remain pretty consistent, but it's like it's kind of like a fork in the road. Like at my core, I'm still the same person, but I may kind of like go two directions and kind of confuse myself. And then when I read the description of a moon in Gemini, it made sense. And the description goes, they are known for their humor and entertainment. So I told myself, if I'm someone who doesn't like to be the center of attention, how is it that I have the tendency of being such a good entertainment? From what people tell me in person on the channel, I don't expect for you guys to find me entertaining or funny. I'm not here for that. And it's really hard for me to project my funny personality or my more lively personality when I don't have the person present with me. It's kind of the gift of knowing me well. The only way we will hang out in person is if I allow that. Like if I feel like you're worthy of such time with me. So it's not like, oh, anybody at all who sees me in their day can expect that of me. Not at all. There's some people who see me on the daily and I may talk to in the daily, but like my barrier, my boundary between us, like it's really high. Whereas once you get to that point where I can call you someone who's like a friend or someone who I would totally hang out with, the dynamic is going to be significantly different. And I also like when I'm away from work and I get to like drop that seriousness associated with when I'm at the job I'm being a professional, so there's this image I wish to portray and maintain. Like when I can let go of that, like a better side of me comes out. And I think that having the channel is one of those things that let me have that, to like have that spot where I can change that, where I can let go of that a little bit and be a little bit relaxed, if you will. You may instinctively know how to keep things fun, talking around the surface of things, stop them getting heavy. You are likely to have an uncanny ability to turn the conversation around when needed to the brighter side of life. And this is particularly true, especially as of the past 2 years. I used to be a person who used to more critically try to address things more realistically, if I may say that. Like, I don't mean to be pessimistic, I don't mean to be optimistic, but I definitely am realistic. I have sort of gone a little lighter on myself when it comes to that, and I've tried to focus more on the bright side and not take things so seriously. And the way I can prove that is recently at my job, I was part of a group in which my opinion was requested for some things. And I was also consulted to assess somebody's performance. Years ago, I would have focused on the things that needed improvement and how, and be like, no, these are the rules, these are the policies, and these are the times this person did not really meet those criteria. But what I did the last time that this happened was, you know what? Sure, these are the expectations that we have implemented. However, given some of the challenges that are unprecedented that we are facing nowadays, especially the inability to hold on to people, like people just keep quitting, it's a continuous revolving door. Your team is never at full capacity, so why would I use that against you? You know, I tried to look at the matter a little more objectively and be like, you know what, if it were me, I wouldn't want somebody to accuse me of not being compliant with certain things. You have to get creative whenever the situation is not favoring you. So if this person did what they could and they still got by, like, hey, we gotta celebrate that. And I want to say that if this would have happened maybe some 4, 5, 6 years ago, I would have been like, no, the expectation is the expectation, the rule is the rule. No matter what happens, you stick to that. So if I see that someone is kind of like derailing themselves a little bit from that, it's like, hey, I can see why. I think it's a good idea. What is expected got done. Keep it going. So there's that side of me that's like no longer as critical about those things as I may have been known for in the past. Let's see. I feel like we could explore a little slightly deeper about Gemini. I'm gonna read one more thing and see what happens. Let's see. Moon in Aries. Okay, this one doesn't immediately go to Gemini, so let me find it. There's the one for Taurus. Up, here it is. Okay. Lunar Geminis are usually pleasant, witty, and charming people. At home and with the family, however, they can be moody and irritable at times. This is true. People with Moon in Gemini are always interesting people. They have a finger in every pie, are curious to a fault, and are generally well informed. This is also true. Usually when somebody asks me about something, I have an answer. I have thought about it. I have explored it. I have tried it. I have heard of it. I have considered it. Like all those things. It's almost like I'm the annoying know-it-all, but I take great pride in that because I take the time to indulge in curiosity. Being a curious person has its consequences. The consequences being info gathering. Info gathering contributes to being well informed. And being well informed means that I will have answers. And I'm going to be a quick thinker. Don't be upset by that. Don't be annoyed by that. Let me go off on my little tangent. Appreciate it. and leave it at that. You don't need to tell me that I talk too much. You don't need to tell me that I repeat myself. Usually when I repeat myself is because I am coming back full circle, or I am trying to emphasize a point. That is a skill. You have to recognize it. And I say it like that, and it may sound arrogant, but I have news for you. I write, I read, I ask, I talk, and fortunately, because I do all that, maybe that's what keeps my brain exercising. And I can say that it's something that continuously keeps spinning. It's something that continuously keeps working. And because of that, I have a good ass memory. And that's why I am incredibly quick to bring up something, no matter how long it happened, like how long ago it happened, and I'm able to pick up from that point and continue and continue and tie it to something else. That's also how I'm able to run my shows, my streams for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and continuously have something to say. I have exercised my brain to do that. If you cannot do that, if the idea of that sounds impossible for you, then you have work to do. If it's something that you consider is a problem on your part, I think it's normal for people to be imaginative. If you're not imaginative, I think that is an issue. That is an area of growth for you to explore, and I encourage you to do so because it only helps. Nervousness and worry are common traits in this lunar position, and underlying restlessness is common, and many lunar Geminis need more stimulation than others. This is true, and I can describe it from the perspective of sleep. I never get more than 5 hours of sleep. And even then, I still have the same energy, the same passion, everything that you expect from me. Even if I get 4 hours of sleep instead, or 3 hours of sleep, I can still do that 12-hour drive. I can still take that 8-hour flight, and nothing about me changes. Not even jet lag can get me. The few times that I have crossed different time zones, I'm still the same. Duty is what keeps me going, and responsibility as well. Now, when it comes to worrying and nervousness, I get nervous with individuals who have a record of intimidating me. And on the note of being worried, I guess my worry is more of the consequence of I have been down this road before so many times, and the outcome tends to be consistent, that, I worry that this is going to happen because of the precedent set. I think that's a normal kind of worry. My worrying issues are not as bad as when I was somewhat younger, because I guess with experience I have learned what are the things that truly warrant me legitimately worrying, and what is the stuff that, okay, it's nice that I'm concerned, but it's not the kind of concern that's keeping me like held back. Like, I used to be too overly cautious because of that slight element of worry that I had. Now it's like, nah, I dare to give things a try and step out of my comfort zone a little more, because I'm not as worried. I don't let the worry control me like it used to. Their homes are often a perpetual work in progress. They generally dislike housework but are big on home improvement. I can agree with that, because my personal room is an absolute disaster. I have things all over the place because I don't bother to buy furniture, because most of it is like business related. It's stuff that I'm selling and I don't want to pay for storage. Therefore, the only place I can have it is in my room, and I don't have enough storage facilitating things such as boxes or plastic boxes and whatever to put those away. But at least I make sure that I have a clear pathway that I can navigate through. When it comes to home improvement, I'm not really big on that. But housework, I don't mind it, but I don't love it either. Like, when I have to do dishes, it's like I have to have something stimulating me so that I can survive it. Otherwise, I feel like it's impossible. An example would be every time I'm washing dishes and I know that the dishes are going to take me more than 10 minutes, I have to listen to something. A show on YouTube, listen to music, whatever it is, I need to be engaged. Otherwise, I get depressed from what I'm doing. Um, let's see. Reorganizing their homes in little and sometimes big ways seems to keep them happy, as Geminis are easily bored by both routine and constancy. This is true-ish. I can relate to the changing things in the house out of nowhere. But when it comes to routine and constancy boring me, I get bored on it in my personal life. But outside of my personal life, I'm perfectly content with work staying the same. And say the way that I go about my days staying the same, meaning the system that I have for paying bills work for me. My shopping routine works for me. My eating schedule works for me. I really don't feel like I need to change that much. But in my personal life, with my personal relationships, I do like for things to change from time to time. I don't like to be stuck in a stage for too long because I feel like we stop growing, and that frustrates me. Often, this is a reflection of their inner world. The grass is always greener applies here. Inwardly, lunar Geminis are often unsettled. Moon and Gemini parents are generally more adept at handling the intellectual needs of their children than emotional ones. Others, complicated emotions in general can be difficult for lunar Geminis to handle. In their families, lunar Geminis often take on the role of organizing get togethers. That is absolutely not true about me. I don't care for that type of thing. I don't try it. I'm not interested. They are they are at their best when they have plenty of things to do beyond routine. Moon and Gemini people almost always have a way with words. Absolutely true. They are clever and witty, and more often than not can be found chatting with others. I'm not that sociable, but with the members of my close circle squad, of course, I can talk forever. They are sociable and friendly and feel comfortable in crowds. I don't feel comfortable in crowds. Some pay too much attention to what everyone else is doing and lose touch with what they really want to do. That can be true. Generally, they have a million and one projects going. Super true. They are impressionable folk and their imagination is boundless. I can relate to the boundless imagination, but being impressionable, not so much. Because if impressionable means my ability to be impressed, it is super difficult to impress me. And I'm sure that I have brought that up a few times on the channel. Their openness to new ideas is admirable, although decisiveness and persistence take a blow as a result. Decisiveness, I'm not a very undecisive person. I actually criticize others who are undecisive more often. And when it comes to my persistence, no limits. Still, versatility and adaptability are some of the stronger traits of this position of the moon. When irritable, these people can easily become snappy. Their moodiness is complicated. This is not the same kind of moodiness you'll find with the water sign moons, for example. Usually, difficult behavior stems from inner restlessness. That I can relate with. Lunar Geminis tend to want to do it all and have trouble sticking to any one project. That is true-ish. I definitely want to do it all because I feel like nobody else can do it as good as myself. But when it comes to sticking to any one project, that's not so true anymore. And I say anymore because I'm sure that I once created a video about how I'm proud of myself for being able to commit to things that in the past I did not have a record of committing. My favorite example is Girl Scouts. When I was in the third grade, I bugged mom to let me be a Girl Scout. So when I was in fourth grade, she signed me up. However, all I did was go to some of the reunions that would take place on Saturday in school, but I never ever went to any excursion. And I feel sad about that because my mom paid a great deal of money for me to be in that program, but I hated separating from my people. I hated being away from home. So as a result, I never went on any trips. I never went camping. All I did was sell the cookies and go to those meetings on Saturdays, and that's it. And wear the shirt whenever it was that one Friday that you could wear it before a meeting or something. That was it. And I hated that because I know that such a program could have been beneficial for building myself, especially considering that I had an absent father figure, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. So, sticking to any one project, I can do it, but it depends. I really have to say it depends. When problems arise, the first instinct of these folks is to talk things out. This is absolutely true. And in recent times, that has been one of my primary focuses in my personal life. Their tendency to analyze and give them the appearance of emotional detachment. Their tendency to analyze can give them the appearance of emotional detachment. That's strange because for me, I think that when I analyze things, that shows that I care and I'm putting effort and dedication into the matter as opposed to remaining superficial. Therefore, I would expect that that proves that I'm very emotionally invested. So I'm not sure that I can really relate to that one. In fact, these folks may be especially comfortable talking about their feelings, but feeling their own feelings doesn't come as easily. I would say that's kind of true. I can talk about my feelings, but sometimes feeling my own feelings is difficult when it has not been reinforced positively. And the best way to describe that is if I share an anecdote about something that someone did to me that hurt me, and when I let the person know, they go ape shit, that makes it not a rewarding experience for me. So therefore, I will not feel comfortable feeling that feeling of, oh, I have the feeling of letting you know this, and this is an emotion that made me feel sad and frustrated and hurt. So I may turn that into, oh, even though what you just did usually hurts me and leaves me feeling sad, I'm going to try to pretend that that doesn't hurt, even though deep down it does. But I only get to that point if you demonstrate that you cannot handle me bringing up something that you did that may be offensive to me. But in the event that you do welcome that, I don't feel like I have to not be authentic about feeling my feelings, if that makes sense. Let's see. Those that don't take time out to really emote and understand their own needs may end up baffling others. Feeling misunderstood is common for Moon and Gemini natives. The only real solution to the problem is learning to get in touch with their own feelings. And this is true because if you guys remember how there was a time when I was saying, oh, you guys have really been pointing out the fact that I look happier these days. And it's true. I feel so much better and I'm happier in general. This is what happened. I did a lot of getting in touch with my own feelings and being like validating them more. And I feel like that was the most liberating experience I had. So that I think is a good stopping place with the Moon and Gemini. Now we're going to move to my Mercury, which I only fairly recently discovered where this one lies, and it turns out that I have a Mercury in Cancer. And I'm really proud that I saw this because the other day being like months ago, I happened to be curiously reading about a lot of the zodiac signs in detail. I don't think I got to all of them because I don't remember much about Aquarius and Pisces, for example. I feel like those are the two I know least about, and Virgo. But when I got to reading about Cancer, I thought about the Cancers in my family who I know, Cancerians who I know, and then I thought about some celebrities that happen to be Cancers. And I also thought about how they tend to be really emotional and their symbol is the crab, and it's like, sure, they have the strong outside shell but inside they're really soft and tender and all that. And then I also know of one other Cancer who I was like, I'm not supposed to really get along very well with this sign, but I can relate to so many other things being described on their sign when it comes to emotions. So I'm really excited about going over this one. Your emotions are part of everything that you do. This is true. And you tend to make decisions, judgments, and plans based on feelings alone. This is true. This is the story of my life. In part one, I got around to discussing things from a little, what is it, from a more spiritual perspective. And I feel like I left a little note there where I said, later we will get to a point in which I will be able to illustrate that better. This is what I was waiting for, getting to Mercury in Cancer. And it's because that so-called gut feeling and instinct that I say I tend to let guide me, that's the best way I can describe it. It's just a feeling that I get. It's like I can be having a perfectly fine, what is it, mundane kind of day, and then all of a sudden something stops me dead on my tracks, and I tune into something and I have the feeling and I gravitate toward it, and I can't explain it. It's something that maybe it's completely unlike me. It's something that's never been a part of my routine or anything, and all of a sudden there I am doing it. There I am trying it, indulging on it. I can't explain it. It's nothing but feelings. Other times it's I may see somebody and I can just sense that something about them is off. And then maybe I randomly give them something or say something to them, and they go, "It's so funny that you do that for me because I needed it really bad." You know, it's like that feeling guided me into doing what I call the meaning of life, which is to alleviate and cure misery. So when that happens, that reinforces my belief that I can really go about my life based on feelings. You can see the real world around you just like everyone else does, but you also take in and process sensitive, instinctual vibrations that others cannot. When it comes to the sensitive aspect, that is one of my favorite things to go over, because people accuse me very often of being an overthinker. And I like to say I am not an overthinker. I am a deep thinker. There is a difference between thinking about something so much that it cripples me versus thinking about something so much that I understand it from every single point, every single direction, every single angle. That is the deep thinker. Like taking it, turning it, stretching it, making it smaller, fitting it in, getting that, like understanding it for real, for real. That's the deep thinker. The overthinker would be like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm not going to do it because this might happen, and then because this might happen, it might lead to this other problem, and because that might lead to this other problem, I really don't think that I should, yeah, no, like, nah, or this person is mad. Because they're mad, I shouldn't approach them. Because I shouldn't approach them, that means our relationship is broken. Because our relationship is broken, that means that this part of my life is gonna suffer. Because this part of my, no, none of that. Like, the deep thinker would look at that situation as, what led this to happen? Let's take it from there. And the deep thinker, in my eyes, tends to be more courageous, because deep thinking requires a degree of confidence. You have to be confident about your own ability to perceive, interpret, process things. And if you have practiced that often enough, you should be able to go out there and take care of anything. But the overthinker is insecure about doing that. That's the way I look at it. That's the best way I can describe the difference. Analysis paralysis versus deep thought. Exactly. I can get behind that. Let's see. Let's click on one more to kind of expand on it, and then we're gonna move along. Mercury Cancer people take things personally and will clam up if they pick up even subtly bad vibes. This is true. This is one of those things that I guess earlier when I was explaining how I don't open up to anybody. On part one, I talked about how when I was a teen, I was actually referred to go to therapy, but I said, don't even waste your time because I'm not going to open up to strangers. And when I feel bad vibes, I feel them for real. And an example of that I can provide is there was this person at work who I could never really get to click with. And it turns out that this person ended up getting in trouble big time for something and they had to be let go. And I said, it was like something was protecting me, but I couldn't tell what it was. And all I could describe it as is like this really weird, dark energy. No other way I can describe it. And I feel like such an instinct has kept me safe many, many times. With the messenger in watery Cancer, you are moody and defensive with your opinions. This is true. You've got a sensitivity to criticism about how ideas are presented and can overreact if challenged. That, not necessarily so, because when I get criticized, I look at it as a learning opportunity. Unfortunately, I don't get criticized as much as I wish I did. And I know that might sound strange to say, but the reason I say that is because I limit how many people influence me or get involved with me in my life. I feel like some of those folks may think that because of their place in my life, that they have to applaud me for everything that I do, and may feel timid about criticizing me even if I need it, even if I deserve it. And I tell myself, as much as I try to conduct myself like an ideal, proper, straight A student, no flaws, whatever, I know that there are things that I do that are wrong. And I would like to have somebody that doesn't shy away from pointing that out and engages with me so that I can understand my own self better. Maybe that would help me with my Gemini moon, like that area where it says feel your own feelings. I feel like alone there's a lot that I can do already in that regard, but if I had an external guide, an external leader doing that, that would be even better. Anyone who is close to me, for real, they should all know that I have bestowed upon them the authority, the power to feel welcome to tell me things, no matter what they are, no matter how, no matter what tone. Preferably make it with a friendly tone, because if we're really that tight and close, then I would expect that respect is never lost. And I feel like if you raise your voice and have like a nasty attitude, that is not a sign of respect. So why would someone who I entrust in my inner circle be disrespectful, and worst of all, me tolerating that? I just want people to know that it's okay for you to tell me those things. But sometimes I feel like strangers, like say years ago, the comment section on my YouTube was exploding because of that men world without men video, and I thought I am being more challenged by these strangers who to me are a bunch of clowns who I owe nothing to, than the people in my personal life. I wish that some of the people in my personal life actually behaved like these people in the comment section. But the reason the people in the comment section could say that is because they didn't know me. They owe me nothing. It is very easy to come after somebody extremely aggressively when the internet provides you a degree of anonymity. But maybe with my real life close people, that's not as easy, because maybe they're afraid that they're going to offend me and hurt me, and that'll sever our relationship. And that makes me sad, because I'm like, I want you to believe that everything between us is going to be okay. You have to believe it. Okay, let's see what else we got. You're not easily fooled by false flattery, since you're able to read the undercurrents of what is said. This is true. This comes from a powerful intuition and can be your ally when learning who to trust with your feeling-drenched observation. This is super true. And it goes back to what I was saying in part 1, where I got really deep in spirituality. I think my Mercury in Cancer amplifies those abilities, and this thing is possibly doing a better job than I ever could describing it earlier to my boy Magismo. But yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. You're not big on small talk. No, and you guys know that that's one of the things that keeps this channel going. I know that every once in a while, maybe once per month, I'm always saying how I hate small talk and how I don't have time for it. I think it's stupid. I don't know how to engage in that. I don't want it. Not interested. Preferring to save your thoughts for those rare intimate conversations with those you are close to. I literally just went off on a tangent about that very thing. Cancer is a sign of tight knit relationships, like with family and friends as family. Exactly. So once I discovered my Mercury in Cancer, I understood why I may not be interested in being that popular person who, like, everywhere I go, I have, like, say, I have a friend at the grocery store, I have a friend in the gas station, I have a friend at the gym, I have a friend at the office. Like, none of that. It's like I have maybe 4 people in my day I check into. And then the others, it's like, okay, y'all exist as human beings. I respect you all, and if something happens to you, I will try to save your life, but you're not essential. That handful of people is truly all that I need, all that powers me and matters to me. All of you have your special way to shine in my life. Because of that, I want to be able to be in my best shape for you and only you. Whereas if I give importance to everybody I encounter and acknowledge everybody I encounter, my energy is going towards those, and those are superficial friendships slash acquaintances. I don't have time for that. I don't have any interest in that. I don't think I have the potential of really learning to the extent that I need to learn, because I'm not going to open up to those people. And the way that I like to go about things, discussing things, is deep. I don't like superficial conversations. I like for everything that I discuss to have the potential of teaching me something. And that's why on the channel, most of the format is me asking a question or me asking you all toward the end how you feel about something. Or I may be like, okay, this is something that I have wondered about, and this is the conclusion that I have arrived at. What do you guys think? That fascinates me. With close friends, you need reassurance about what you're sensing and benefit from having objective thinkers in your circle. You tend to be overly subjective, so having clear-eyed feedback helps you gain perspective. That can be kind of true, because there's that part of me that's like, my Capricorn helps me be like, nah, things are the way that they are, period. But then my Cancer side is like, but this bruh is part of the squad, so we have to support them and have like an inclination and preference for them. And then like my Capricorn is like, nah, remember that things are the way that they are for a reason. So yeah, so there have been times in which I have not favored someone I'm tight with over someone else, because I felt like this other person defined the role better. And this is particularly so when it comes to hiring people. It's like, okay, someone I know is interested in this promo, but realistically, you're not there yet. I want to support you. I want to back you up because, hey, we tight. But then there's the part of me that's like, in the world of business, ideally, personal things do not get in the way. But for a brief second, I have that Cancer aspect acting upon me, but then it goes away. And when it comes to my customer service, my Cancer has come out many, many times in the form of being able to anticipate a customer's need in such a way that it really made them feel special. And I didn't know anything about them. And I have no connection with them whatsoever. It's like, okay, at a distance, I see you. I get like this weird feeling, impression about you. I make the offer, you take it, boom. Whereas independently, you wouldn't have considered asking for something because you might have felt like a burden, but there I am being servicial. So that's what I feel I get from that Cancer in Mercury. You can be very sentimental, this is so true, to the point of idealizing the past. Very true. That makes it hard for you to let go, especially if there is loss connected to a person or place. Cancer has a strong sense of place. Memory lane. You are a collector of memories, impressions, sights, and poignant times. That is so true. I can remember everything. Absolutely everything. No matter how stupid an event might have been, in my mind, it's like baked. So much so that I can revive it any minute, whenever, no matter how long it's been. And even if there wasn't anything particularly significant about that, there are just some instances that left such an impression in me that I can revisit them as if it was happening all over. And when it comes to collecting things, if someone once got me something and it just really made my day, or it came from somebody who means a lot to me, to this day I still have those receipts from 9 years ago. When your Mercury is in Cancer, the mood or emotional impressions are what shapes perception. It's hard for you to engage in just the facts, ma'am type of conversation. You're geared toward communication that resonates on a more personal level. Absolutely. It has to do with the intimate human experience via the heart, and as a cardinal sign, Mercury initiates through conversation, art, music, literature, and healing arts. There are gifts here that have to do with finding the universal in the personal story. That is super true. I really, 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 really love it when I am all of a sudden initiating a conversation and it turns into something deep and meaningful. And even if it's someone who generally has their boundaries set high, it makes me proud when they can open up to me. Because I've never been someone who's like really touchy, really affectionate, really out of my way going type of person. But when someone makes themselves vulnerable to me, I treasure that. I protect that. I defend that. And the more intimate the conversation goes, the better. Because I'm craving those too. There's a lot that I want to let out myself. So, do you hold grudges? Yes and no. The grudges that I tend to hold are regarding when I was fucked over. That's the best way I can describe it. Let's see. Can I give an example of that without being too deep? Or say publicly, describing somebody. Actually, since you guys have been around for some time and I have discussed this before, my parents, a little bit, you could say here and there that I hold grudges like against them. And it's pretty sad, honestly, because my resentment tends to be more of, here I am, all grown, but I wasn't really invested in, and I'm experiencing the consequences of that. But then there's the side of me that's like, I don't have a right to judge my parents, but at the same time, what do I do with these very real feelings that I'm feeling? There's no denying that. Who would I have turned out to be had I been invested in? Like, say, the times that I expressed that I was interested in learning a musical instrument, specifically the piano. If I would have gotten those lessons, where would I be at now? What would my confidence level be like? Would I be doing something with that skill? Would I have gone to school? Would I have had more opportunities to be eligible for scholarships that are granted to people who have special talents? I don't believe in people just being born talented. Like, you were invested in. Now, when it comes to the job, I don't tend to hold grudges at the job because the job is a competitive place, and therefore you have to be suspicious of everybody. Everybody has their own goals and interests, and therefore they're not really supposed to care about what happens to you. Even though it's fucked up, you shouldn't step on anybody's toes, but I can make sure that I don't actually resent it so much because of the competitive nature of it. Now, in my personal life, what may appear as a grudge being held is more of, hey, let me remind you that you are not perfect. And what I mean by that is every single time I have been reproached in my life, I usually don't try to prove to the other person that, hey, you too mess up. That's, I think, one of my problems. I love the people in my personal circle so much that I just want to see them win. I don't want to be the cause of any kind of upset in them, but I also know that by doing that, I'm failing at what I desire myself, which is I wish somebody would criticize me in a sincere way and know that it's going to be cool in the end. But then there's that side of me that's like, why does nobody love me? Like, why isn't anybody fiercely loyal to me like I am to them? So when I am reproached about something, I look at it as, if you're going to reproach me about something that you did for me, that means that you did it out of some kind of compromise as opposed to a genuine impulse and feeling. Because if you do things out of love, out of that type of interest, you don't keep a score. It's like you did it. It doesn't matter how much it cost you, what you had to sacrifice. You did it and it filled your soul with joy. But if you do something for someone and you will bring up the fact that I have spent so many $1,000 on you and this and that, and I definitely have spent more than you, especially when you reproach me about that when I was at my worst. Say financially, there was a time when I was in a horrible situation and there was no way that I didn't even, I had to worry about what I was going to eat next. Put it that way. I had to get creative about where my resources would be allocated to so that I could make sure that I had some things that I could get. And that's the time that you remember about me and you're reproaching me for that because I wasn't getting you anything. That's really fucked up. Because you should have known what my situation is because I kept talking about it. I kept telling you about it. I kept showing you the dire situation I was in. And then it's like that shit just whoosh, flies over you. And you're like, regardless, I expect better from you. Like, I cannot magically make things appear for you. Those are the times that I can say I can hold a grudge. It's like, you reproach me so fucking much that it's time that I start defending myself from your bullshit. That's the way that I can say I hold grudges. But at work, I want to say that's where I hold the least grudges because, again, competitive nature. You should expect people to just cheat left and right and do you dirty in the process. But in my personal life, I guess the Cancer side of me, it's like, why don't you do things out of feeling? I have been a giver, even in the times when I didn't have much to give, and it was the very last thing that I had. I was able to give it, let it go, and be like, I gave it, and I don't care about what it means for me to give this up. You need it more, you take it, I'll be okay. But there's people who I feel have given to me kind of expecting something, and then because I was not reacting to their gesture, they were using it against me. And I'm like, did you just try to buy me? No, you have to cultivate shit with me. That is the way to make things prosperous with me. How dare you? So yeah, you could say under that sort of set of circumstances, I may hold a grudge. Do you like who you are becoming as you are now? Yes, because I have discovered that I am a work in progress. And even the things that I'm saying now that I may feel really proud of in the future, I may be like, even though those are good traits, they're not necessarily the best. And maybe as time progresses and I continue to embrace a more learner style, then I will discover that the stuff that I value now was good, but not the best. So you could say that I have an ambition on my own personal growth and development. You're not always quick with your wit, but you have a subtle knowing that adds depth to your humor. And this is interesting because I tend to be that person who's like quick witted, but I guess this element in some instances may slow me down. And the places where I can say it slows me down is small talk, superficial stuff. But when it comes to deep stuff, it's like I'm very confident about that. You come to the verbal aid of the vulnerable, this is true, and can be counted on for a kind word when it's needed. Also true. I don't tend to give compliments out very often, but when I do, it's real and it's happening. And what I can say about the verbal aid to the vulnerable is at work, every time we have a new person, I immediately try to take them under my wing and I try to teach them the things that I wish I would have been taught from the get go to help me develop my confidence, to give me the skills to address a situation, de escalate something, or prevent a mess from happening in the first place. So I tend to have very mentor tendencies, even though I prefer to be the person who receives the mentoring nowadays in places that I feel I'm very well specialized at. I like to take more of that teacher role. And I guess it also helps that that's what I wanted to be anyway. I wanted to be a teacher. So I guess there's that part of me that's like, my job is going to become my mock classroom because that's the closest thing I can aspire to ever teaching. I don't need the classroom. I don't need the license to teach. It's like I can recognize how to present something in an educational manner. And I like that individuals who are vulnerable, such as new people, it's like, just so you know, this person is going to come over to your line. They do this, that, and the other. They like this, that, and the other. This is why. Be prepared. And if you give the person the heads up, but most importantly, you don't let them feel like they're alone, they can survive anything. That's what happened with me. The moment I knew that I could dial a certain number for someone to come to my aid, that's the day that I felt, oh, I don't have to be the one taking matters into my own hands. I learned to use my literal human resources in my department, which before I thought that I was like a one woman island. Like whatever I can do, however far I can take it, that's it. But then I learned that if we are a team, the success of the business depends on our ability to work as a team. And that took me a while to understand because as a team, we were not focusing on that and we weren't projecting that very well. We were using words to describe the idea of the team that we have, but we weren't really executing it with literal actions. Like when we would have our meetings, we would sit there and talk all day long about the things that we're going to do and we need to see, but when we were operating under or during business hours, where did that go? What's happening? Like, why are you not behaving in the same manner that you do when you're in a relaxed, protected setting outside of business hours? That disappoints me. So if you're going to project yourself in this way when we have meetings, you should be able to maintain that when the business is going. Because it's part of taking care of your squad. And that's something I take great pride in. Because you resonate with the deeper meaning of life, you are often called on to make speeches at family events or write sentiments on the birthday card. This is true. I have been asked to write things for people. Anything from resumes and letters and help someone write an opening for like a position or something. I'm like, you're the one who has the position higher than me. How do you not have this skill? It's like as soon as you hand me something, I'll examine it and it's like I can completely compose my own document about it. Why have you not exercised that part of you? That's kind of the way I see it. And then that's when my arrogant side comes out. I guess that's my Leo coming out. You're able to sense when someone is socially awkward or troubled and know how to draw them out of their shell. This is true. Your Mercury interweaves emotions with thoughts so that a memory can cause all those feelings to rush back. Yes. Like I can think back to something that happened 10 years ago and be like, I remember that mellow effect it had on me, but also I remember the anger it brought to me. This can be a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it can cause you to lose clarity, especially if the unresolved issues start to pile up. And this is so true because just 2 nights ago, I was having a conversation with someone in which I said, and this conversation was happening while I was having a full blown meltdown, okay? I was describing things about the past that I deem unresolved and how that affects me. And because it is negative emotions and negative things in general, things that have hurt me deep, whose consequences I still feel to this day, it made me have a meltdown. And let's see. An attitude of forgiveness for self and other can help calm the choppy waters of the past. Forgiving is something that I can say I don't do very well at all times, but the times that I get it right, it's a truly rewarding experience and I'm grateful for. Now I wish that I can continue to get better at it. But there's the times when, depending on who it is, if you're someone who continuously fails with me or fails me, it's like I find that hard because you're not reliable. And I know exactly who to bring up to this conversation, but I don't want to, like, call them out because this isn't about bashing anybody. But just so you know, that circumstance with me exists. Mercury in Cancer can find an outlet for emotional intelligence through the arts. You're able to express the depths of any experience. This is true, as you can see by the however many thousands of videos I have by now. Uh, the poignant yearnings we all have to live, love, and belong. This gift is also what makes you a caring coworker, parent, friend, and so on. Yes, I care too much. Your interests might lean toward the past and the family. You might be drawn toward history, researching the family tree, and the fascinating area of healing collective emotional trauma. I love that. Some 5 years ago, I became interested in learning a little more about the family. And I started asking my mom, I started asking my brother, and I dug up some old emails from my father where he went over some stuff. And then I said, wow, I can perceive it so much better than teenager me could. Because I guess I'm now in an age when knowing that information is more useful, and I'm also prepared to discover some of those stories. And also, when it comes to emotional trauma, I think I have gotten to make a video about this, but at some point, I believe I have expressed here on the channel that my favorite thing to do is, after something that's incredibly difficult, incredibly painful, incredibly hurtful, my favorite thing is when I am nursed back to health, when I heal from something that for me was traumatic. I wish I could express it. I wish I could explain it. I wish I could describe what that is. But the best I can do is say that, kind of like the Saiyan effect. When you beat them up really bad near death and they bounce back, it's like they have leveled up. That's me with my emotions. Anything that used to really hurt me and cripple me, and it was unresolved, once it becomes resolved, I'm unstoppable. But if something remains without addressing, naturally it gets worse. Your interests might lean toward the past and the family, da da da. The ancestral soul can be engaged through self-expression as well. And that's true because there is one particular family member who's been gone since 2004. And even though I didn't get to know him so well, the stories that I have heard of him and the things that I do that it turns out I have in common with him helped me understand myself better And I find that inspiring now. I feel like his essence has been passed down and I'm the one who inherited it. Maybe one day I'll make a video about this particular person, but just know that I have had my moments like that. Let me see. Do you like who you're becoming? I like your mind. I could listen to your thoughts all day. Thanks so much for saying that, because honestly, I could speak all day about my thoughts. So thanks for saying that. That means a lot. It keeps me more motivated than I already am about journaling and, of course, sharing thoughts in a public forum. Next, we're going to discuss the fact that my Venus is in Virgo. That one shocked me a little. Venus in Virgo brings a more serious vibe to all of your partnerships. And this is true because I feel like in all of my relationships, I have been strict. I have always made it abundantly clear that I do not casually date. I do not casually get involved with someone. If I get involved with you, it's because I really consider that you have potential and I can see myself trying something with you. But the number of opportunity tickets that I give out have been very little. In my entire time, I have only dated 3 people. And I am upset that it's not just 1 or 2. 3 makes me feel like I have been doing a bad job at choosing. But then there's the side of me that goes, what about the people who have had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so on and so forth. And then they got married maybe by the 20th or so. I'm like, I really like to put a lot of brain into it. And I guess it's my Capricorn methodical side of it. I don't have time to play. I don't have time to be a clown. And my intimacy, my privacy is something that I treasure a lot. So if it's something that I'm taking care of so much, it's for a reason. This is the kind of stuff that breaks people down. So my serious vibe, I guess, intimidates people because I'm the kind of person who, after a period of time has passed, I will ask, hey, where are we going? What are our goals? What is the one project that we have in common as a couple that's going to unite us for the rest of our lives? What are we thinking about? What are our plans? How often do you think about us, 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 us? Like, I can do that. I can focus on that, stay focused on that. But if the other person has a tendency of having trouble committing, I'm not interested in that clown. I don't have time for you. I need you to come into this confident and clear and not be offended. But at the same time, the individuals who I have encountered who have trouble with that, I like to understand them because I know that I'm a person who has, what is it? A baggage, I guess, on me that makes me challenging to be with. It's not like I'm all of a sudden the leader and the manager, the exclusive voice in the relationship. Nothing like that. It's more, I want to know how you think and how you're planning things, what you're feeling, where we're going, because time is finite. And if I see that you're slacking on that or falling behind on that, I say it like that because I know what I do in my day. I know how I think. And I spend a lot of time thinking about us. But if you don't, that lets me know that you're a clown and you're not in this for the long run and you're wasting my fucking time. That makes me mad. I will resent that. I will hold a grudge. So you better leave and not even consider being anywhere near me or we're going to have problems. That really, really brings genuine anger out of me. But if you're someone who from the get-go make yourself vulnerable to me and express that you genuinely have trouble establishing certain connections or something, it's like, okay, my Cancer comes out. It's like, I have all the time in the world for you because you have admitted that you're in a position where you need help, you need guidance, and whom better than me to do that, because I feel like I'm well equipped considering the amount of brain exercise that I do. So yeah, so relationships is something that is a really touchy subject for me, because I tend to be incredibly stern about it, because I don't play. And if I were to find out that I'm involved with someone who plays, it's not gonna look good. But fortunately, my intuition is like good enough to where I cannot say that I have been with somebody who made me feel like it wasn't time well spent. Like I can say that from each relationship, I learned something super valuable. And even to this day, I can still say that I got stuff that I can look back to, like travel back into that past and be like, oh, now I understand why I reacted the way that I did and the effect that it had on this person. And now I know that what I should have done is this and that, and this is why. So I look at it as every relationship has had its season. Like some of them were when I was a teen, and some of them when I was a young adult, and so on and so forth. So I was in a different stage back then. I needed those experiences to help shape me into the person I have become today. But even back then, I had the same definition of what relationships are for me. I always said, I'm not gonna play, I'm not gonna fool around, and I haven't. But I can say that I have managed some better than others. And I will never forget my second relationship. I treated that guy bad because there were unresolved issues that I had that I was taking out on him, and I was disappointed that he was not being to me what I was being to him. The best way I can describe that is, given my mental preparedness, I was able to be present in his life and influential, inspiring, motivating, advising, mentoring, all those things, resourceful. But that guy was none of that for me. I cannot say I learned anything from him, but I can say that I learned things about myself because of what I was projecting into this person. I learned that I can be a little pushy. I learned that I can be too serious in relationships. I learned that I can get frustrated easy. And I learned that I have attitudinal problems that need to be addressed, because the way that I was treating him toward the end, he didn't deserve it. And I feel bad, and I felt so much regret. And fortunately, I got to apologize to him and be like, you know what? Even though you were my victim, just know that your suffering was not in vain. It helped me humiliate myself to get the help that I needed. And now I can say that the mistakes from back then are never gonna happen again. So in a sense, I have to, it's one of those things that unfortunately someone has to take the damage, but it was in the name of my growth. And also the experience that he had with me hopefully served him to be like, someone like her is too intense for me. This guy, actually, he was a cancer, but although he was a cancer, a cancerian, he didn't really have an emotional side. He had that super, 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 super guarded up. And I kept trying to tear down those walls so much, getting to talk, and he wasn't. If you're not talking, I'm not being stimulated. If I'm not being stimulated, I get bored and frustrated and I leave. And that's what happened. But unfortunately, I didn't leave without drama. I made a big deal about it. And he didn't need to be embarrassed. He didn't need to be attacked. I treated him like he had like a major learning disability, to put it in cruel terms. And nobody deserves that. Because even though clearly I was the one who was already mentally, I guess, advanced, a little more developed in that regard, it didn't give me the right to belittle and degrade this person so much. So that's when I learned that I had issues with my pride, and how like when a Leo gets angry, how I was going over that in episode 1. When I get angry, it's like the whole house is on fire. I can set the whole thing on fire, blow it up. I don't care. Everyone loses, including myself. I had to get that addressed. And fortunately, my experience with him prompted me to get that done. Had I not done that, I would probably continue to still be that person, and who knows how many problems I would have in my present day. So it's like a sad story, but in a weird way, even though those messed up things happen, it's like, hey, at least I was mature enough to be able to identify that this happening, something positive has to come out of it. And it was, for starters, we went our separate ways. So he no longer had to deal with my degree of being, now that I look back, I was a legit emotional abuser. So he got away from that, but I also got to get the help that I needed so that I don't do that to somebody else. Does that make sense? And it was very hard because I did not accept that I did such a thing until it was either 2 or 3 years after. I would have to revisit my journals from that time frame. But I know that a lot of processing happened behind the scenes. Like it was like a tab on a computer that's like minimized or something. All of that processing was happening subconsciously. And then I said, oh my God, I'm so glad that I grew from that because it was bad. But I also was able to understand where that came from. And that's when I learned the many unaddressed issues that I have from my past, from my childhood and all of that shit that you may be aware of from the posts that I have had. As you live more life, you'll realize we need infinite tickets. Finding a way to bond with others is difficult, especially when people change. Yes. And it's funny that you say that because there are some people who, even though we have maintained continuous contact, some of them still associate me like the person I was the last time they saw me. Some of my family members, for example, they still think of me as that little girl like when I was small, and they think that my interests are still the same as back then. A lot of that has changed. Like, say, I'm not into anime and video games as much as I used to be. So please do not buy that stuff for me. But if I do get it, I look at it as, oh, this takes me back a little bit and I can appreciate it briefly. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like, hey, you need to travel to the present. I'm not that person. And say, back then, if my favorite color used to be blue, now it's like, oh, it's blue, but it's navy. You know, like, get to know me. Because as time passes, emotions are something that I look at a little bit like a spectrum. Like, you have your bright colors, that's the sunny days, the good days, the great vibes, etc. But then there's also like that darker side. And I feel like some people have missed out on my evolution truly through no fault of their own. It's just the circumstances. Like once you hit a certain age, everybody's like apart. What can you do? At least we have technology now that enables you maintaining certain connections and being able to monitor someone. But someone like me, except for my mom, nobody else knows that I have the channel. And in my friends circle, only 3 people I actively told I have the channel, and I told them to not tell anybody else. And then there were 2 people who I knew of but wasn't necessarily friends with, who did discover the channel. And then I said, hey, good job discovering it, but don't tell anybody. I want you to stumble upon it because it's a need that you actually have. That's the whole reason why I don't promote my side stuff and be like, hey guys, so I run this little shop, buy from me, this and that. Like, I don't do that, because if you're looking for something, I want it to find you, or I want you to find it, not me pushing it on your face and you favoring the product because you know that you'll be supporting me. None of that. I want you to genuinely stumble upon it. And yeah, so it's difficult because there's a lot of stuff that's like, it feels like such ancient history now, but when I think about it, it's the very experiences that shaped my perception and my character, which if I'm thankful for, then I cannot look back on those times with resentment. It's like, oh, my father's abandonment had to happen because that made me more prone to being understanding, being more empathetic of those kids who have no parents or have a mother, but the mother is not as responsible as the one that I happen to have. See what I mean? There was that arrogant side in me that's like, just because I don't have a dad doesn't mean that I'm a failure. Like, I'm still the top student in this class. I'm still the top employee in this department. So, it was affecting me because I feel like I became the overachiever in an effort to compensate for those things that I was missing that left me vulnerable. Hopefully that made sense. Who are you in the present? What is your color or interests? Who am I in the present? The best way I can describe it is I'm someone who is knowledgeable about nothing but a learner of everything. I have come to really appreciate that because given that I don't have a lot of direction in my life because of my lack of ambition generally and my lack of goals, I'm just getting by. That's the way I look at it. And when it comes to color, I want to say that I hang out in the pastel shades kind of color range where there is color in it, but they're not very bright. That's the best way I can describe it. My interests, really hard to describe because I tend to dwell more on myself, like what can I learn today, what is something from the past that I can resolve today, something like that. It's a little more egocentric at the moment, but yeah, when it comes to interests, I'm trying to expose myself to many different ideas to see if I can finally find the calling that inspires me. I have been learning about aviation. My father and brother are pilots, but the more I learn about it, the more I know that that's not for me. And when it comes to teaching, I look at it like I wish I could have the privilege and what is it? Resources to maybe continue my education, but I'm like, I don't feel that that's the right thing for me. An education for what? So I like to take that into my own hands instead. The way I conduct myself is, what was it that I wanted to learn or know about as a kid that I didn't get to? And even if it's through a virtual tour, at least I can say that there is a lot that I can explore that I couldn't before. And some of those things, I realized that in my head, I was over idealizing. Like, especially when I learn about music, I'm like, I remember how bad I wanted to learn how to play an instrument, but now it turns out that it's not a big deal to me as it was. But maybe it's because my interest died because I couldn't cultivate it. So I'm trying to, what is it, define that complexity in my brain. It feels complicated, but maybe it really isn't. And I'm trying to see what conclusions I can draw from that. Let's see. And the ones that don't live up to your highest standards can show themselves the door. Virgo is perfectionist, and when it combines with the planet of love and beauty, it can be a tough time. We're left to sort out their conflicting influences. I have always been told that Virgo is kind of a shady character in the zodiac, and it makes sense because there's one Virgo I know that I have never been able to warm up to her, and that's crazy because I tend to be really good with people when I do allow myself to be like bonded with a little deeper. But this person, Not at all. And it's funny that this says something about the ones that don't live up to your highest standards can show themselves the door, because moments ago I said how I take relationships seriously, and if you're not like serious in that regard, don't waste my fucking time or I'll get pissed off. Let's see. Let's read what details it talks about Venus in Virgo. Ooh, let's see what this has to say. Let's see. Summer is slowly but surely coming to an end. Not in the northern hemisphere. Let's see. Venus, the planet of love, will enter into Virgo, giving us a more level-headed and pragmatic way to view on our relationships. After a hot, steamy season of love, we're in for a chiller, more cooled down vibe, and we'll be feeling this energy all the way until September 29th. Okay. Venus is in its fallen Virgo, meaning that it's the planet's least favorite sign to be in. So we'll have to work a little harder to make our relationships harmonious during this transit. I don't think this is giving me the information that I'm looking for, because it seems to dwell more on Virgo as a zodiac sign, possibly as a sun, more than Venus in Virgo, even though in the title it says Venus in Virgo. So let's try something a little different. Let's try... dang it, I hate this. Oh, here it is. Venus in the signs. That should be it. Aries, Taurus. I'm going to have to go a little further toward the bottom. Cancer. Okay, Leo and then Virgo. Right. Yep, okay. Venus and Virgo people are not the flirtatious sort. This is true. Instead, their appeal lies in their dedication, their willingness to work on the relationship, and to make the relationship work in real terms. Super true. Unlike Venus and Leo, they won't try to impress you with grand gifts or promises. Super true. Their gifts are less showy, but perhaps far more generous. Gifts of devotion and attention to details about you. Yes! That goes back to what I was explaining about how I conduct myself in relationships and how I don't value being spent on in the same manner that I don't value the spending. But if you do things that have meaning and impact, you have me. And most of the things that have meaning and impact for me don't have a price tag. It's all about you being intelligent. So very, very happy with what I'm reading so far. Let's see. They quietly and often slowly make their way into your heart. They are quite sensitive in love, even insecure, and this reserved loner-like quality is part of their appeal. That is true. They prefer to play it safe in their relationships, and they need to be confident that you like them before they make a move. That's true. Very true. They are great listeners and they make it a habit to observe and learn all of your ins and outs. Super true. My favorite pastime in a day is when I start getting to know somebody and I'm getting tight with this person. It's like, I know at what time you're coming. I know what parking spot you're going to be pulling into. I know what you're going to be smelling like. I know what your agenda is looking like. I know what you're going to eat for lunch. I know what color you prefer to wear on your shirt or whatever. I know how you're going to do your hair. Those little things, those little details. And then when you least expect it, I'm going to do something cool with that information. Let's see. Oh, and I know everybody's birthday. Let's see. Their love can be of the kindergarten variety. They show they care by nagging or criticizing. Super, 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 super true. And that has landed me into trouble before because some people are like, you're not a very loving person if all you do is criticize. And I'm like, the reason I criticize is because I want what's best for you. You should be grateful. You could be having so much better, but you're settling for so much less. Why? I'm trying to boost your confidence. Remember, though, that they are not trying to hurt you when they are pointing out the flaws in your thinking, plans, or even character. They truly are trying to help. Venus in Virgo is attracted to nondescript people who have largely gone unnoticed. Show offs and know it alls turn them off. And I guess that could be true in my case because I am the one who is already the know it all. And I like to show off with the people I'm close with just to troll them because to me trolling somebody is like half the fun. Pleasing Venus and Virgo involves showing you appreciate them for all the little things they do, and they do a lot. Yes, one of the things that I got into a fight with someone who's in my personal inner circle was, I'm like, if you're going to criticize me for something, every time you think about criticizing me for something, you have to make sure that you accompany that with a compliment or point out something that I do, because I know that there's so many fucking things that I do very well and I'm great at, and you're telling me that you can find nothing, absolutely nothing nice or positive or reassuring to say about me. Fuck you. The problem is they do these things so quietly that you may not always notice or credit them for all these kind gestures. Yes, I am very often described as a ninja because only if you have been around me for long enough, if you see something that was missing or needed fixing and you leave and you turn around and all of a sudden it's there and fixed, more than likely someone took care of it quietly. Why? Because it goes back to what I was saying about how I found it hard being a Leo at first, and I kind of grew into it because I don't like to be the center of attention. It's kind of weird. I don't like to be celebrated like in a big way. I like to be celebrated intimately. So, say if my manager is going to compliment my performance, I want for that to be on a one-on-one discussion, not on a meeting with 50 people. That's embarrassing. I don't like that. And if you're someone in my personal life who's really proud of me, I don't need you to introduce me to every goddamn person you meet. Introduce me to those who are really, really, really close with you, and that's it. Because those who are close to you matter to you, and by extension, they're going to matter to me. But being like put on the spotlight and stuff, nah. I like to deal with things quietly. They do need some space. After all, they're generally quite busy making everything work, so give it to them. Be genuine, not ostentatious. They are really not difficult to please after you have taken care of these basic needs. Avoid pushing your friends or family on them too fast. This is true. Remember, they are a little shy. Super true. They aim to please and are easily intimidated by your experiences. True. Let them know how much you value them, and they will reward you with devotion and a charming willingness to talk things out. Absolutely true. That completely defines me 1,000%. They express their love through practical means and gesture, running errands, doing detailed work, or just being there for their lovers. Love needs to make sense and have a purpose. Virgo is an earth sign, which is sensual but also quite practical. What they buy and the types of entertainment they enjoy are ruled by whether or not these things make sense. Yes! If you guys have been around for long enough, you should recall that I have said that I don't like fiction. If I'm going to spend my time watching videos or watching a movie or something, ideally it's non-fiction, it's a documentary type. I'm learning something. I'm enriching my brain with something. I like for things to be factual because I don't have time for fantasy. I don't have time for impractical, useless, clutter, info type deal. I like for things to make sense. Yes. Very nicely said. They could easily feel guilty if they are too self-indulgent. Rendering services to others can fill a need and can be an expression of love. The shadow side of this position is being overly critical of partners, picky, or worrisome. This is true. They might overanalyze their lovers' reactions and words chosen, and their love lives in general. That is very true. Because most of the time when I had issues in my relationships, it was because I dared to not pretend that I was okay with something that I really wasn't, and I tolerated for very long, but then I brought it up. But because I brought it up after so many years, the person ended up getting offended because all of a sudden they couldn't handle that everything was not as okay as I thought it was. And I'm like, that is my fault. I admit that. But try to understand why I couldn't speak. I couldn't speak because I couldn't feel that it was safe to do so, given your character. If something is not a rewarding experience, why in the hell would I do such a thing? They often spend their money with care and usually on practical items instead of frivolous ones. Do you guys remember that video that I put out? Was it yesterday or the day before about my relationship with money? That's where it comes from. No matter what happens, I have to spend on things that are actually needs. Wants, it is extremely rare that I have them. Usually my wants are tied with my needs, which is I want food, I want something fancy, I need to eat, so I'm taking care of a want and a need. And it's not a case of need versus want. Big win. And yeah, that seems to be the end of that one. We are getting closer to like the middle of this. So for the rest of these, I think those are the top, what is it? Things that people look into when it comes to the zodiac and the effects on people. So from this point on, I'm running a little bit out of time. Or what is it? I'm running out of time. So I'm going to kind of breeze through the rest and just read the intro of them, let you know how it pertains to me, and then try to wrap this up in a few. My Mars is in Gemini, and people born with Mars in Gemini are incredibly active and engaged. Super true. The native of Mercury has also inherited a strong sense of poetry and passion. I've never really been the poetic kind. I've never really liked the kind of poems that I have written. I don't think I have written a poem ever since I left school. So honestly, writing poetry was kind of forced on me. But outside of the school setting, I did try writing them, and I just found them to be a little cringy because they didn't feel original. So don't come to me for poetic ideas. I'm not your girl. Intelligent, fast learners, they're highly qualified in their fields. In addition, they have a keen interest in traveling internationally. That is not very true about me. But what is very true about me is I am definitely qualified in my field. Next up, we have my Jupiter. My Jupiter is in Scorpio. And this shocked me because Scorpio historically has been the one sign in the zodiac I genuinely have trouble with. Almost all of the Scorpios I know in my life, I disagree with, I have issues with, we don't get along. Like, I don't want to say we don't get along in the sense of, like, we literally, like, clash. It's more of they're talking, they're complaining, they're stinging, spitting their venom. I'm taking it in, but the worst part, the craziest part, is that these Scorpios are oblivious to the fact that I don't like them. I think they're immature. I think they whine too much. I think their hearts are full of venom. They just are. So I have never read about any of the Scorpio's effects on me, like say having a planet in Scorpio. So let's see what we learn. Your gift of attraction extends beyond your professional life. As someone with their Jupiter in Scorpio, you possess a charm and inner strength that draws others to you. You know how to use your gift of intuition to get what you want, giving you a certain degree of social power. Okay, that was a pretty innocent thing with Scorpio. Um, Dang, if only I had more time, I would try to read a definition of it. But my problem with the Scorpios have been that the Scorpios that I have met, particularly at work, they will complain all day long about everything and criticize everything and gossip a lot. But you're not even the best worker. You're not even the one contributing ideas. You're only spitting venom. All you're doing is like talking down to others about others and all that. But what are you doing to actually improve things around here? So, reading that they tend to have a charm and inner strength that draws others to them, I can understand some of that because these Scorpios that I'm thinking about, for some reason, they do well talking to people. Maybe because they're so negative, they're able to resonate with people who are already vulnerable, like burned out from the job or overwhelmed or upset about something. And it's like they add fuel to that fire, and then that's what makes them likable because you're relating to them. But I cannot say that I have met a Scorpio that's really nice. There was this one Scorpio that I wasn't even friends with. We didn't know each other that well. And for some reason, she thought it was okay to just come up to me, act stupid, and flip me off because I guess that's how bitches greet each other. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm none of that. You shouldn't feel comfortable performing those gestures toward me when we ain't even tight. You know, like watch yourself, be a lady. Like I lost my mind internally at this fucking Scorpio. They have no idea that I feel that way about them. But unfortunately, this individual is close with people who are in my close circle, and there's a part of me that's like, this person is literally not good for you, but I feel like it's not my place to point that out. This person should be mature enough to arrive at that conclusion on their own without my interference. So I'm hoping that's what happens. But like, I don't do well with Scorpios. I can tell you that much. Oh, makes the hair in my arm stand. My Saturn is in Pisces, and Pisces is one of those signs that I really don't know much about, but in my experience, I have gotten along well with the Pisces I have known, except one. There was another one who I feel might have stepped in some people's toes to be able to achieve their ambition, but this was a harmless person. They truly did not mean, they didn't have any ill intent. It's just the way that it came out, but they fulfilled their goals, so everything is good. But if they're not careful, I feel like they can walk over people, unfortunately. And then the other Pisces that I can think of that I didn't do very well with was someone whose style at running the show was not compatible with my personality. So they left me feeling stressed out. Let's see what it means to have a Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is a mutable sign. Saturn is the farthest planet we can see with the naked eye. It is known for its openness, compassion, and intuition, traits that Saturn could use to soften its rigidity. But there's a shadow side to Saturn in this sign as well. Our boundaries could become so soggy that they disintegrate altogether. Pisces has a profound capacity for trust and fantasy, and with the planet of discernment here, it can be easy to fall into the undertow of a charismatic person or movement without first pausing to think for ourselves. And that's really okay. Hopefully, I recovered some of my connection. That makes me so sad. Like, I'm running into that issue with my connection again. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to wrap this up. this up. So when it comes to boundaries, I agree with that about Pisces, because the other night I was discussing with someone how in my personal life I tend to not defend myself too much when I'm being, what is it, hit, offended, or stuff like that, because I want the other person to be so well and win so much that even if it's at my expense, I'm like, maybe that's the price I have to pay. But that's something that I'm learning to address. I have to be comfortable with standing up for myself. But then there's the part of me that's like, if I stand up for myself, that Leo is gonna come out and I'll burn the whole house down. So I need to come up with a way to be able to do that, but without it costing me everything. See what I mean? So yeah, so Pisces is something that I can't say I understand very well about me. Moving on, we have, let's see. Ooh, I lost connection on my phone. Let me see if I can recover it really quick. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I hope this works. I'm gonna be so sad if I can't enable my other phone to do what I need it to. And I think this phone might fall out of its little stand too. Let me see if I can recover connection. But my Uranus is in Capricorn. I remember that much. So I have Capricorn acting upon me once again. And Uranus and Capricorns exercises caution and responsibility in their plans to avoid changes and shocks. They do not strike until they feel their plans are incredibly safe. These qualities see them easily elevate themselves in society because they are perceived as someone stable, calm, and reliable. That is very similar to the description of my Capricorn ascending, to which I agree. Neptune is in Capricorn once again for me. And these people are mysterious. Like their ruling planet, they tend to be compassionate and idealistic. The majority of people with this placement have a sincere interest in esoteric philosophies and religion. Many also work to improve the lives of others. 100% agree. I like to be a mentor. I like to take on a teacher role, even if I need a lot of mentoring and lessons myself. But I also have been catching myself dwelling more in the more religious aspect. And finally, my Pluto is in Scorpio. Even though Pluto has been declared no longer a planet, we are going to give it the respect it deserves, because I'm not about to have someone tell me that my education is invalid by telling me that Pluto's planet ass is no longer a planet. So I forget what characteristic Pluto did not meet that made it no longer be considered a planet, but I grew up knowing it as a planet, so it is a planet. I make it true. Pluto in Scorpio is a deeply perceptive and sensitive personality. The feelings that you perceive through Pluto's placement in Scorpio are the powerful projections of what you are thinking about yourself. Underneath that veneer of deep emotion, however, lie self-protective layers of destructive rage and even hatred. Yes, that's what I'm saying about people whose sun is in Scorpio. To me, you all are a bunch of haters. So to read that they tend to be like this emotional and sensitive and deeply perceptive thing, I just want to tear that description apart and be like, no, you all are full of venom and nothing else. But I really should explore more about Scorpios, and maybe I'll understand things better. So I guess they have like destructive rage like a Leo can, and then the part of hatred. There was only one person I ever said in my life that I genuinely hated, but I can say that I have moved on from those feelings, even though this person to this day still continues to hurt me. I don't know what it would take for me to hurt someone. Maybe you would need to like legit murder someone I actually love and care about and is close to me, whatever. But outside of that, I cannot say that I relate to that. And I guess what this is trying to convey is that thankfully I'm under control for the most part when it comes to my emotions and things. But if for whatever reason something were to kill my Capricorn aspect, which is the calm, reliability, chill, cool, collectedness, maybe something bad could really be upon us. Well, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a very awesome, interesting stream. I have wanted to go over this topic since forever, but I did not really have my information together. I knew someone at work who's really deep into zodiac shit, and in a sense, he's the one who helped me become aware of what's beyond your sun. Like, all I knew is, okay, I'm a Leo, and I'm a Leo with a Capricorn rising, but that was it. I really didn't know about the other layers to it. So this was a very good experience. Reading about these descriptions helped me define some of my own personal traits and put them in a more organized way. Not that I struggled with expressing myself before, but I feel like this opened up a new possibility, a new realm of things to explore, if that makes sense. Have any customers ever recognized you from YouTube? Only one. And this customer happened to end up working with us, but now he left again. Um, and that's it. I don't recall anybody else saying that they have met me. That's one of the things that makes me be like, I really want us to stay small. Like, I don't want to blow up as a channel. Like, the 1,000 of you that I have is actually 1,000 of you who are not consistently watching me. I'm good with that. But my ideal size of the crew here is like the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of you who may leave some comments regularly. I'm happy with that. But anything bigger than that, I worry that it may affect the quality of my interactions with you guys. Like, during this stream, it was possible for me to acknowledge and respond to the things that you guys were asking. But I have seen other people's streams, those people who have like a lot of followers, that like the thing is continuously scrolling, and I'm like, there's just no way. That's it's kind of like, it goes back to that thing that I was saying about how I don't like fiction. I like for conversations to get somewhere. If I were to see that, I feel like there's gonna be those people in the crowd who are just continuously spamming in an effort to get my attention, just saying, hey Zam, notice me Zam, da 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 da. Like, I cannot imagine that happening to me. So there's the side of me that's like, I could miss out on the perks of what it would mean to be a big figure here. But then there's the side of me that's like, I value my privacy and the quality of the interactions with you guys too much to be able to negotiate that. So hopefully it stays that way. And if you guys wish for me to offer some kind of proof that that's the way that I am, something that is very conspicuously missing from my videos is me telling people what to do. Like, I'm never telling you, please hit the subscribe button and leave a like. It really helps the channel out. Like, no, you're going to subscribe on your own free will. I'm not going to plant on you the idea of subscribing. It's, if you found my content compelling, you will voluntarily do so. Not because I'm like begging you for it. Even though that tactic works, that's not my ambition. And when it comes to leaving likes and stuff, it's like, you will hit the like button if this video truly did something for you. My likes on YouTube, I think I only have like, God, how many likes do I have? I think I only have like 113 videos under my likes. And trust me, I have indulged on a lot of content. And when it comes to subscriptions, I think I'm only subscribed to like 13 people, and 2 of those people have duplicate channels. So technically, I'm only subscribed to 9 people. If I'm looking for something as a consumer of content, I will go out of my way to find it. I don't let the algorithm really mess with me. It gives me very good suggestions sometimes, but just like what I was explaining about my businesses and how I'm not here like promoting it, you will find it if it's something that you're actively seeking. So me here on YouTube, it's if I'm looking for something, I will do the legwork to find it. But I'm not going to be like encouraged into submission. For some people it works, for me it just doesn't. I like for people to like perform on their own free will. Not that me saying subscribe is taking away your liberty or anything, but try to understand what I'm saying, because I'm having trouble projecting it. It's more about if I really left that much of an impression in you that you don't wish to lose me to the sea of content creators that there are out there, then you will preserve me. But I'm not going to be there begging for you to subscribe to me. Like, no. Do it because it really compels you. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon. Hold on. Before I leave, art student says, I'm a Libra in the Zodiac. Good job. Libras are air signs, and I get along so well with Libra sis. I have the guy who got me into exploring the Zodiac even further. He's a Libra, and one of my favorite supervisors ever was a Libra. And I say was because he's no longer working with us. But yeah, I used to call him my personal armchair psychologist and psychiatrist, because I could talk to him about anything, and his like sensitivity and stuff would just come out and everything would work out, and it was just awesome. I miss him so much. And I'm sad that from what I could see here, I'm not going to go into the houses, but that is another thing. I don't know what those are, like first house, second house. Maybe if I learn something incredibly deep about it, I may bring it here to the channel. But my first house is Capricorn, second house is Pisces, third Aries, fourth Taurus, fifth Gemini, sixth Cancer, seventh Cancer, eighth Virgo, ninth Libra. That's the only piece of Libra I have in me. And it disappointed me because I was hoping that maybe one of those things that I was excessively Capricorn with would have been a Libra. But Sagittarius, I have nothing either. And I have absolutely no Aquarius in me. I don't see that here either. My ninth Libra, 10th Scorpio, 11th Sagittarius, 12th Capricorn. So I'm not shocked by how much Capri there is all up in this, considering that my family is primarily Scorpios, Capricorns, and Cancerians. But it did make me sad from the Libra perspective that I didn't have much of that going on because of how well I get along with Libras. But Geminis did not surprise me that much. But yeah, I'll explore the houses, see if that really means anything extraordinary, and if it does, I'll be sure to throw another stream and we can explore that together. All right, this time I'm really gone. I'll see you.